When it comes down to it, our body is quite picky on what gets in and around it, making me personally like to think about it as the hottest club in biological town. A place every external organism and compound wants to get in and roam around, but can't because the doorways are secure and the bouncers are some of the best in the biz. That is, until they're not. Or the entry points swell to an unmanageable number where it's simply impossible to control the crowd of billions waiting at the door. And when that happens, it transitions from the hottest club in town to the hottest mess. Good news is, you stand in control of these key entry points into your pretty cool meat suit and have the power to keep them strong and efficient. Here are the top 4 you want to keep in mind and how to do just that. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftinbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today, we are talking about how to keep our bodily barriers intact, a task which flies very much under the radar as it pertains to optimizing our health and extending our longevity, but not anymore, because we are breaking down the 4 main entry points and how to shore up their defenses, starting with the most obvious and ending with the one barely anyone talks about, one which guards the VIP section of our pretty cool meat suit club. And the promising thing here is that the most impactful optimizations can be made solely through lifestyle. And a lot of the same foundational habits promote the health, function, and efficiency of all of them. So let's begin with the first and most obvious barrier that we all come oh so conveniently equipped with: our skin. You ready for a little known fact? The skin is the largest organ on our body, covering an impressive surface area of 2 square meters and accounting for a whopping 10% of an adult's total body weight. And get this, when we expand down to the different layers of the skin, its surface area extends to about 25 square meters. Damn is right. And what most people don't realize is that this organ, which spans the majority of our external body, is permeable, meaning that although it acts as the all-important flexible external barrier to the outside world, it's also traversed in some circumstances, and on some occasions to the point where an external entity makes its way into circulation. Yep, potentially not cool for biological school. Here's the thing. Our skin is formulated in such a way that both our cells and the trillions of microbes which inhabit it protect us against the majority of harmful compounds and pathogens that try to make their way in, as we discussed in this skin microbiome video here. However, when this tissue is not put in a position to do its thing, one of our largest bodily entry points can become compromised. And if you're wondering, there are a variety of different factors which influence one's skin health and permeability on any given day, including heat and moisture, which often make the skin more permeable and easier for external substances to be absorbed, chemicals, such as the ones found in common body care items and cleaning supplies. These substances can also negatively impact the trillions of microorganisms living on our skin, which help protect us. Think antibacterial sanitizers and soaps. And finally, injury, as this obviously creates a chink in the external armor. So being cognizant of the items you put on your body while protecting against and keeping wounds clean is super important for putting this barrier in a position to do its thing. And I have a simple rule I'll share that has worked wonders over the last couple of years. If I wouldn't eat it, I'm not putting it on my body. This doesn't mean go taste all your body care items. Don't do that, but instead understand the ingredients and their potential impact on your body. Other important factors in optimizing this tissue include healthy eating, exercise, and high-quality sleep, wielding their influence by optimizing blood flow, increasing collagen production, detoxifying and moisturizing through sweat, feeding beneficial skin microbes, and reducing stress. But we'll talk more about those in just a minute. For now, know that the skin is not to be neglected. With that, we move to the less thought about but also super important entry point, our lungs. These bad boys facilitate the transfer of two mission critical substrates which keep us intelligent walking apes, well, walking. And for that matter, all complex animal life walking. Or flying, swimming, and squirming. We're talking about the all-important oxygen and carbon dioxide. With each breath, air enters our lungs and flows through the airways to the alveoli. These are small sacs which are surrounded by capillaries, or small blood vessels. Here, oxygen diffuses across the walls and enters circulation, while CO2 is handed off in the opposite direction and released during exhale. This makes our lungs a key entry point for critical resources in and out of our body. However, it also opens up the opportunity for other substances to get into the lungs and into the bloodstream. Substances which may throw off the vibe at our cellular party. Polluted air, chemical aromas, and secondhand smoke are all common toxic substances that can not only damage the inner workings of our lungs, but impact the rest of the body. Thus, avoiding them as much as possible is an endeavor worth making. That being said, we also gotta be real here. 100% avoidance is nearly an impossible task, even if you cut yourself off from the rest of the world taking up residence in the mountains, which actually sounds kinda nice, but it still will not do the trick 100%. So if you wanna live where the people are, a solid and easy alternative is opting to primarily inhale through your nose. Because when you use your natural breathing apparatus which has evolved with your respiratory system, you filter your air, trap harmful pathogens and particles, improve oxygen efficiency, blood flow, and reduce stress. All benefits which are bypassed when you use your mouth. So hedge your bets and lead with your nostrils. Next, we continue our journey within and move to quite possibly the largest and most complex checkpoint for the entire body, our gut. Yep, the large and small intestines comprise the largest surface area of any organ throughout our body, checking in at a whopping 200 square meters, which if you were wondering equates to around one full tennis court. Yeah. I have long thought of this as the most critical entry point from the external world to our internal world. Because unlike the skin, one of our gut's main jobs is nutrient absorption. Something that is kind of critical for that life thing that we like to do so much. And to add a measly, unmeasurable amount of complexity to this task, it also has to deal with keeping the tens of trillions of microorganisms which call our intestines their home at bay, making it a safe assumption to say it's got a lot going on in there. And when it starts going wrong, the impact is proving to be felt far and wide. Let me explain. The epithelial cells which make up our gut wall are a tightly junctioned, selectively permeable membrane, meaning they are functionally programmed to only allow certain compounds like food byproducts and metabolites through. Everything else is denied. On the external side of these epithelial cells sits a mucus layer, which acts as a buffer between the outside world and our inside world. While on the internal side of the gut wall sits an intermediary space made up of blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and nerves, along with a large portion of our immune system, acting as bouncers, taking care of anything trying to sneak through that is not supposed to. Now, this is how things are supposed to work. But as we know, the perfect world is often only found in biological fairy tales. As modern-day societal norms have been proving to take a toll on this elaborate absorption and protection system. What norms, you ask? The unnatural chemicals and toxins in ultra-processed foods. The damaging compounds secreted by microbes who feed on those very foods. The stress of 24/7 all-waking day eating, along with the chronic lack of movement, adequate sleep, and a severe nature deficit, are creating an internal intestinal environment where it's hard to thrive. The mucus barrier begins to deteriorate. The tightly junctioned epithelial cells loosen. the gut wall becomes overpermeable or leaky. Compounds, particles, and microorganisms which were once a safe distance from the bloodstream are now overwhelming a chronically overactive immune system and making their way into circulation, not only driving inflammation locally in the gut, but spreading it to other areas throughout the body, impacting and impairing cellular function along the way. Yikes is right. And the reality of our modern world is the majority of people on this beautiful floating rock are dealing with some degree of gut dysfunction. Dysfunction which is likely impacting the rest of the body. So putting your gut and microbes in a position to thrive may not only resolve a lot of these issues, but create a strong gut wall, sharp immune system, and efficiently operating checkpoint. Some ways to do this include ditching the ultra-processed foods for a variety of real whole nourishing ones, giving yourself a 12+ hour overnight fast, prioritizing high-quality circadian aligned sleep, donking or exercising on the reg, and making sure you get your daily dose of nature, as it has some wild microdiversity boosting effects. Now, we are left with our last barrier, one which is rarely spoken of, and quite possibly the most critical of all. One that regulates what gets in and out of the VIP section of our Bodily Club, the blood-brain barrier. Yep. Our 5-pound mushy membrane has its very own security detail, with a snazzy nickname, the BBB. This, very much like the gut wall, is a tightly junctioned, semi-permeable, specialized set of endothelial cells which form a membrane that separates our blood from our brain, allowing essential nutrients and molecules to pass through while preventing harmful substances from entering our cranial cabinets. However, for many of the same reasons the gut wall can become damaged, the blood-brain barrier can get worn down too. In fact, so much so that research has identified a clear association between the two. But in this case, being coined leaky brain instead of leaky gut. And it might just be me, but that first one sounds a lot worse. This happens when the tightly junctioned endothelial cells that make up the blood-brain barrier membrane begin to loosen, and compounds which are not supposed to begin to traverse into the VIP section of our body. Yeah, not ideal. A situation which often shows itself mildly but consistently with symptoms such as brain fog, headaches, memory loss, cognitive troubles, fatigue, and mood disturbances. Interestingly enough, the very symptoms which accompany many of the other metabolic diseases plaguing modern society today. Almost like we're captaining a vessel where everything's connected. So, what exactly damages the blood-brain barrier, and more importantly, how can we fix it? Well, research has shown that this critical membrane can be impacted by a variety of different factors, including chronic inflammation, which can damage endothelial cells and make them more permeable to harmful substances. And we know from all our other powwows, chronic inflammation seems to be implicated in many, if not all, conditions and diseases impacting the brain and nervous system. Next, we have high blood pressure, because when we are in a stressed state, blood vessels constrict and the pressure of each cardiovascular pump places extra stress on the endothelial cells which make up our blood vessel walls, including the blood-brain barrier, over time damaging this key membrane and setting the stage for dysfunction. Then we have other diseases such as diabetes and obesity. These conditions come with a lot of underlying issues which impact cellular function and respiration at their core. Cellular function, might I add, which are critical for the optimal function of our barriers throughout our body. And finally, we have external toxins. Two of the most prominent and common being alcohol and tobacco. Research has shown that consistent use of these substances has a direct and immediate impact on our blood-brain barrier, making it more permeable in the short term and setting the stage for chronic long-term problems in the brain. So yeah, we just don't want to open up the VIP section of our body to anyone and everyone. Which begs the question, how can we improve the function and security of this neuronal checkpoint? Well, by investing in the foundational components of health and longevity, of course, many of which we talked about in earlier sections. Remember how I said many of the same habits impact all of these different systems at the same time? I wasn't lying. Exercise has been shown to improve endothelial function, reduce stress, and improve blood flow. Standardizing on a diet of real whole nourishing foods has been shown to do much of the same. High quality circadian aligned sleep with a 12+ hour overnight fast allows these tissues to repair, rejuvenate, and rebuild. Oh, and detoxify the brain, which is a function of deep, slow wave sleep, and a proactive stress management strategy, which consists of all the aforementioned habits, as well as deploying techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, journaling, breath work, and nature may very well be the most powerful hack of all, making it physiologically and biochemically harder to become stressed in the first place. All of these topics, might I add, we have deep dives on throughout this channel, the links of which you can find below, highlighting both the research-based benefits and how they can be tactically deployed in your everyday life. Because when you think about it, the best lifestyle habits in promoting the function and efficiency of your oh-so-important bodily barriers are the ones that promote your cellular and metabolic function as a whole, reducing inflammation, improving circulation, reducing stress, and putting your cellular machinery in a position to do its thing. Who would have thunk? If there are any more barriers I forgot or overlooked, remind me in the comments, and if there are enough, we'll make a part 2. As for this powwow, it is important to remember, feeling good, refreshed, restored, rejuvenated, and energized every single damn day doesn't just happen, especially in this modern day, riddled with societal norms which promote the exact opposite outcome. You gotta take back control, reclaim the reins of your most valuable asset, and guard the doors to the hottest biological club in town. Because you just can't let anybody or anything in your most valuable asset, right? Now, go to bed, because you shouldn't be up all night clubbing anyway. Biological club, not real one.